The summer after sixth grade, my best friend Nick moved to Austin to live with his dad. I was bummed because we'd grown up together, but it was understandable. Austin seemed cool, and if you're gonna change schools, doing it right before starting junior high seems as good a time as any. So I took a bus down from Dallas to visit him one weekend that summer, and we had a great time just playing basketball and shooting pellet guns and enjoying time with his dad, who was a really funny guy. As 12-year-olds, we were full of energy, and one afternoon, after getting bored of shooting hoops, we just went for a walk in the hills out behind his house. I was really stunned at the terrain there because it was almost like bordering on desert country. It was just cactus after cactus after cactus, and I had never seen a cactus in the wild before then. Like, it's strange how something so common can seem so exotic to you. I have friends who grew up in the north who have never seen an armadillo before, and yet I saw those armored rats around all the time growing up. People in Australia must not think twice about kangaroos. In Belize, there are taper crossing signs on the highways, and the uniqueness of the baobab trees must not even cross the minds of folks in southern Africa. But as for me and Nick, it was these cacti all over the rocky fields. So Nick and I did what anyone else would do when confronted with a wonder of nature. We picked up sticks and started smashing the shit out of these fuckers. We spent a whole afternoon just watching wet green flesh splatter fucking everywhere. And good God, it was so much fun because we were 12 years old. When I watched From Dusk Till Dawn for the first time way back in college, I thought immediately of me and Nick's cactus adventure because exploding shit for the sake of exploding shit is really fucking fun. And when this movie gets to the exploding shit part, it's fun as hell. In fact, if you asked me to come up with a single word for all of the famous directors' styles, when you got to Robert Rodriguez, I think my word would be fun. He's got El Mariachi, Desperado, Spy Kids, Planet Terror, Machete, Shark Boy, and Lava Girl. This man knows how to have fun. His co-writer Quentin, however, well, I love Tarantino in his own way, but this movie is entirely about Rodriguez just exploding shit because it's a fucking blast. Hi, Cecil.
Hi, Jeffrey.
What's the coolest animal or plant you've ever run into in the wild? Like, what were you, when you saw in the wild for the
Oh,
first time, were you like, whoa, shit, that's one of those things?
oh, wow. When we were in Australia and I
Uh-huh.
went to Rot's Nest Island, I saw a quokka,
Mm.
which are the ones that, like, if you look at them from like underneath or straight on, they look like they're smiling. I took a quokka selfie. That was pretty cool. And it was like hard won because I had been on this little tiny island in, 90-degree heat, riding my little bicycle around. And it wasn't until like a good 2 or 3 hours into the trip that I found one. And it made it seem like, it was like hard to find, even though they're just like hanging out on the side of the road.
Sure.
But the anticipation made it seem really cool.
That's really cool. Quokkas are real fucking cute.
Yeah, they are.
Speaking of real fucking cute, I did not manage to get another guest for the show, but I did find us a podcaster, an aerialist, an actor, just a vampire expert all around. I found us a Symphony Sanders. Hi, Symphony.
Hey, baby.
Hello. Uh,
Yeah.
what's a cool plant or animal you've ever seen in the wild that blew your damn mind the first time you saw it?
Well, in the wild, I don't know what I've seen anything that's like terribly out of the ordinary, but I am soon going to take a trip to Costa Rica
Ooh.
and the goal to see a sloth.
Oh, hell yeah.
I That is my ultimate goal and I'm going to make it happen for myself because I'm obsessed with them. And their faces and their long, stupid, slow arms.
Mm.
They're all mossy and cute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do they
So
like to be
yeah,
hugged? They look like they
they
want to be
they
hugged.
look like they want to hang on to you and hug you, but it is fully illegal.
Okay.
And I think you can really hurt them. But I dream of one day just like it with consent, like it reaching out to me, not me like grabbing one, it
Yeah.
like reaching out to me slowly, slowly, slowly with its 2 or 3 fingers, and then latching onto my arm, smiling at me the whole time, and then holding on to me like a baby. And then
Oh.
I will say, "You are my son."
Sloth encounter.
Your name is David. Just
Exactly.
oh my God. How many times have each of y'all seen this movie before?
Oh, a lot.
Oh,
Yeah.
a million times, a million
Like a
bajillion
lot.
gazillion times. Yeah.
Because
realize-
this movie came out in like the 90s when it was like Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez, like these movies were everywhere, man.
Yeah.
And then they were
Yeah.
on, and then it was like, cut to ribbons and put on USA and all the
Yep.
cable news,
Mhm.
and like everything was kind of cut. And, everybody's like bleeping out this, that, and the other. But it
All
has
the
been
all
like,
the language. Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
all the language has been kind of like janky. But it's been like a good decade since I've seen this film.
Can I tell you, when I rewatched this, I had only seen it like more recently on like a TLC or TNT type situation where they bleep all the things, and I didn't realize that he really does say the two tough motor scooters. I thought that was a TNT redub, but it's not. It's in the movie.
Two tough motor scooters.
Yeah. Because I always thought that line was so funny when you would hear it on like TNT or something or TBS, but now I know it's just regular
I
in the
think
script.
Pulp Fiction, Tarantino's Pulp Fiction has one of my favorite TV edits of all time, which is when Samuel L. Jackson in the TV version says, "I wouldn't know because I wouldn't eat the filthy Mother Hubbard."
It's so funny. And then in this movie, we actually have like internal editing when like Harvey Keitel is like, I'm a mean servant
Yeah.
of God.
Yeah,
I do
because
like
he's
the
still
cast.
so good.
He's so good. I still love the casting of Harvey Keitel as like a goody two shoesy sort of pastor type who won't cuss is so funny to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything about this movie seemed like fun to make. It seemed like they got together all the people they wanted to get together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tarantino is master of wordy violence, and Robert Rodriguez is the master of fun violence. And then you get Tom Savini involved in this, and
Yeah.
all these amazing character actors like Juliette Lewis, another one
Oh
who
my God,
plays
she's
so
so
many
good.
bad
Right.
girls, playing a good girl. Fred Williamson, who came up for whatever reason in a recent episode, I think in our Island of Dr. Moreau, like athletes turned actor.
Oh, right. Well, and
Yeah.
Cheech
Oh,
Marin
yeah.
plays like 3 characters in
3.
this
Yes.
movie.
Yeah.
God bless Cheech Marin.
I mean, Danny Trejo, like
Oh God.
He's
just like
so
it's
hot in this movie.
Mhm.
he's really hot. Because I'm sure he's attractive to someone, but he's just like an old grizzled looking, like he still looks very tough and like whatever. But in this movie, I was like, damn, Danny Trejo.
Yeah.
This was a
Yeah.
year before Anaconda. He's in the cold open of Anaconda.
Oh my
And
God.
he's so
Right.
pretty in that movie. Like he actually doesn't look like grizzled machete star, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Well, this movie opens up in West Texas out in front of Benny's World of Liquor.
Mhm.
We've got Seth and Richie Gecko, who are bank robbers, liquor store robbers, hostage
Real
takers,
pieces of shit.
just absolute
and
shitheads.
psychopaths.
Yeah, total
Yeah.
psychopaths. Seth is played by George Clooney with his
Wow.
neck tattoo and
Okay.
and Caesar cut.
Wait,
George
but that was his
Clooney.
that was his signature
It was,
look
yeah.
at that time.
Yeah.
Because even when he was on ER, which is where he was like big, break into Hottieville came. That was like, and when he was declared, I think, sexiest man of the year or whatever, everybody was getting that cut. Like
Yep.
the GQ was
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about his haircut, like all that stuff. But the remembrance of friggin' tribal tattoos just
Oh,
was.
I know, right?
I was like, oh, right. I forgot that was a whole vibe
Yeah.
in the 90s. It was the 90s.
It was high 90s.
High 90s.
And it looks so bad. It looks so
Yeah.
bad. The
Mhm.
low these 20 years later.
Tarantino's writing is high 90s. This style of like the anti-hero, the protagonists who are deeply shitty,
Yeah.
Yes.
people.
I
And
love
Tarantino just throwing himself into the movie too.
Oh, sure.
Always.
Yes.
Yeah.
And and ogling feet the entire time, which is another Tarantinoism.
The perviness of his character, like obviously it's showing that he's deeply flawed, but like couldn't we have just seen that from them, like, I don't know, shooting people indiscriminately? That's one
Yeah.
thing. But then his like you could hear like every time he had like this weird sexual fantasy about someone's like this like muffling ear sound, and then he like hallucinates them speaking to him or something, and I'm
Yeah.
like, so fucking gross. But and a part of me is like, is he like that though?
Well, we probably. We definitely know about his we definitely know about his foot fetish because it's in all of his movies. And this one, there's
Oh,
like two women in this movie that have like significant parts, which is Salma Hayek and
right.
Juliette Lewis, and both of them have a feet scene in this movie. One is just lingering on Juliette Lewis's feet in the back of the Winnebago, and the other is fucking Salma Hayek pouring tequila down her shin with her toe in his mouth, feeding him.
To be fair, if Salma Hayek tried to stick her foot in your mouth, you would not say no. No, no one would. No one,
And,
no
and
one
there's
in their
liquor
right
involved
mind.
as well.
Yeah, free
Absolutely.
tequila.
That's the hottest fucking thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not even I'm not into that. But like
No,
I could be for Salma Hayek.
totally. Yeah, 100% agree. I'm not into feet, but I'm into Salma Hayek's foot if it's got tequila on it.
Is this a coupe glass? No, this is actually Selma Hayek's foot, is the traditional glassware for this shot. Served up.
Yeah, I like that
Yes.
as the new fancy cocktail bar thing where they serve it to you down somebody's leg. Oh,
Wait, this sounds like I bet this restaurant actually exists in Japan somewhere. I feel like it must.
I
Well,
hope
it's
so.
got a Coyote Ugly vibe to it too,
Oh, yeah.
just like pouring liquor into people's mouths. Also, it's like very messy. Like most of it doesn't even get in his mouth.
No,
Like it's all over the place.
no.
And most of that bottle is wasted,
Yeah.
to be fair.
Admittedly, it was also they're serving sleaze tequila at this bar, so it's probably not
Yeah.
like the worst.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh
they're
yeah. No,
rocking
it's rock
Kirkland
gut.
brand. Yeah.
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 Blech.
Do you remember that was also a very 90s thing? Do you remember when all the celebrities got their own liquors? Like
Oh,
the,
they're
like,
still
the
Oh,
doing
they're
that
still
shit.
doing it.
like it's the entourage years. Everybody's like, look, I made this tequila. Look, I
Yeah.
made
Literally-
this tequila.
That's what Casamigos. That's like the fame of Casamigos, which is George Clooney.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
Symphony, a couple months ago, you texted me whatever. Mark Wahlberg has a brand of tequila as well.
Yeah, I was like, what is this Boston liquor?
Just the famous liquor of Boston, tequila. Like,
Yeah.
Sean, Connor, get down to the dunk and we're doing shots. It's oh my
So
God.
authentic.
It is
Call the
authentic.
cops.
Call the cops. So we're at this liquor store, Benny's World of Liquor in West Texas. We've got the Texas Ranger has come in. He's a dickhead.
Oh my
talking
God.
to-
This dialogue is, I
Oh.
forgot, just like, it's so funny, the dialogue in Tarantino films. It's like sort of mumblecore,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but also then when things get really intense, just say the lines as quickly as you can. It doesn't, like, it really is like he's going for mile per minute when it
Yeah.
comes
Yeah,
to
quick and
dialogue
intense.
recitation. Yeah. Wicked intense, indeed.
I'm so used to movies made for optimized for streaming and also podcasts too, where audio, especially dialogue, like for our show, is compressed so
Mhm.
that quieter moments come up. And
Yeah.
it's not keeping like a high quality, but it's keeping a listenability for the audio.
Right.
And I watched this on the HBO Max, the Max app, and
Yeah.
the dialogue in this movie is so quiet. Like I had to crank the shit out of my volume.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
when we got to the second half of the movie, I'm like, oh God, let's go back down. But it is mumblecore. I think you're right, Cecil. It does feel kind of just, hey, you guys, just you playing the Texas Ranger, just act like an absolute like ableist, racist pig. You're also sexist, and just complain about your fucking day.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
as he sits there with a beer, being like, "I'm gonna get tanked tonight." I'm like, "Sir, you're already tanked.
You're literally on duty, like talking about like these criminals and like other people in the town, I guess, whatever town that was supposed to be, but like such a piece of shit. And you're fully drinking on the job, and also using the term "drain the lizard."
Ugh,
Has anyone ever said that? Like, that's gross.
it's pretty bad. It's
I
pretty
like to
gross.
flatten. I like to flatten the lizard. Like roll it out like a tube of toothpaste. Like really just. I don't drain it as much as I like wring it out.
The phrase is so weird because I was like, it doesn't actually make any sense that you're ever having to drain a lizard in real life, like not
know.
metaphorically.
And
So
why are you referring to your penis as a lizard?
that's weird. It's scaly.
Ugh.
It's got a caudal spine on it.
Oh
Oh.
God.
It has those
It'll drop.
weird-
It'll drop off.
It has those weird 280-degree eyes.
Oh,
When it fears it's in danger, it'll just drop off and another one
That's
will
right.
grow in
That's
its
right.
place.
Ugh! If a bird starts pecking at it, it just comes off and it'll regrow a new one.
so the Texas Ranger goes to the bathroom,
Yeah.
drain the lizard, and what we learn is that Seth and Richie, with their two hostages from the bank we had heard about, a bank robbery up in Abilene earlier that day, and they must be heading toward Mexico, which would send them through this part of town, or this part of the state. Seth and Richie emerge and are like pointing the gun at the clerk, being like, Richie starts accusing him of signaling the Ranger.
Right.
Clearly not, but Richie is. They're both like hot. They're both absolute hotheads in really distinctly different ways.
Yeah.
Seth being
They're both psychopaths in their own unique flavors.
Yes.
But I feel like Seth is the more measured, I guess, of them. And like if he doesn't have to do something, he like kill someone, he would prefer not to. Like he will if he has to, but like yeah, his brother is just a loose cannon.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right. Yeah.
So it ends up with when the cop comes back out, they hide again. Richie thinks clerk is signaling the cop, so he just walks up and shoots this Ranger in the back of the head. And then there is a shootout with the clerk.
Yeah. Like this is actually like a pretty exciting scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I love the fact that like we've watched this whole like weird, benign, terrible conversation, and then knowing that, like the liquor store clerk, who seems completely normal, was like hiding the fact that these two sociopaths were in his thing. But then once it gets into like full on Western style shootout, I was like, okay, this is actually pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the way that they, he tells Richie to shoot out the bottles behind the counter.
Yeah.
And then he uses lighter fluid on a roll of toilet paper and just chucks the lit sort of Molotov cocktail over to kill off the clerk. Meanwhile, the two hostage ladies are like, we gotta go. They just fuck right
That
off.
was the best thing they did. That was the best thing they probably did for themselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And then also we get the classic. This is so 90s. They're walking. Richie and Seth are walking out to the car, and we see the liquor store in flames behind them, and it's exploding. And it's the classic cool guys walk away from explosions bit.
But they're like bickering the whole time.
Yeah,
they're just like bickering. They're like, well, you shouldn't have done this. Well, you should have done this, which is a funny turn on that trope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because they're not the heroes, obviously.
Right. And then we get the credits, which are done exactly like the Pulp Fiction credits, just different song and a different color font. That's all. And they check into a motel. They had one more hostage in the trunk. Gloria.
Oh, poor Gloria.
Oh, poor Gloria.
Yeah. She gets a bum rap.
She does. This is I think actually honestly for all of the blood and violence in this movie, it's so cartoonish, right? Like
Yeah.
everything is just let's blow up some shit. Um it feels fun and horror-y in the gore splattery sort of way and in the vampire sort of way, but this scene actually is so disturbing because you actually have psychopaths and you have Richie who is almost like a child, right?
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah.
child brained. And so Seth lays out the rules for Gloria about like don't run, don't scream, don't do this. You just stay with us until we let you go, and we will if you just follow the rules. And Seth steps out for just a few minutes to go get the money out of the car. Or what did he go to CVS? What did he do? Why did he step
He went to
out?
go get food. He went to get
That
Yeah.
food.
Oh,
Yeah.
Big Kahuna Burgers. That's right.
Yeah, he's got to get his big kahuna burger. But it's
And
the
when
whole
he
thing with like when Quentin Tarantino was like, "Here, do you want to watch TV next? Do you want to come sit next to me?
In
Kick
his
off
little
your
baby
shoes."
voice.
and
I
he's
know,
watching
right?
cartoons from like the
Yeah.
1930s. Yeah.
They're in Skinamarink, actually.
It's always the Skinamarink cartoon
This is
just
what happens
playing.
in Skinamarink.
Yep.
It's very natural born killers. You know, like this was
Yeah.
that era
Yeah.
of like, you know, the anti hero.
Yeah.
I like I like George Clooney's last line where he's like, "I may be an asshole, but I'm not a fucking asshole."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he
Although
says
he does.
I'm a professional fucking thief. I don't that's what I do. I don't kill I
Yeah.
don't know how
Right.
to kill her. I kill people only if I have to, but I
Yeah.
Yeah.
don't want to, and I don't rape women. Like it's just
Yeah.
like everything about that is, it's like it's not helping us to like leave dead people or wounded people or whatever. It's not
It's
really
just
helping our
creating
case,
more
Richie.
problems.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
creating more troubles.
Yeah.
Which
But
and
his
then
brother.
that links to like Harvey Keitel's, you know, scene once they get to the titty twister where he's like, "You won. Like you're
Right.
doing it. You escaped. You crossed the border. Like, do you not understand like when you're winning?" And I think that's like it seems to be a common thread throughout this thing of like, you're doing the thing. It could get worse. It probably
Yeah.
will get worse once the vampires start showing up. So like
Uh-huh.
stop making problems for yourself.
Yeah. Don't ruin it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Harvey Keitel, who plays Jacob, and his two kids, Scott and Kate. Kate, played by Juliette Lewis. And they're stopping at some roadside diner and having a chat. And we've learned mom is dead. She died in a
Yeah.
car crash, very tragic. And Jacob has stopped believing or he just is no longer a pastor. He's like, I'm sure there's a God. I just am not serving him anymore.
I don't want to do it anymore.
Right.
Yeah. He's mad, which justifiably,
Yeah.
he's having a crisis of faith, obviously. And I feel like this is another thing that a trope that does happen a lot in not just vampire movies that involve some sort of like priest or holy person, but it happens in exorcism type movies as well. I think there's something about the loss of faith, the man who's lost his faith, and the redemption arc of that is prevalent a lot.
Yeah. It makes sense because we're dealing with the notion of Christian heaven and hell. And so the idea that there is this duality of good and evil. So they actually kind of say it later in the movie. Like George Clooney was like, well, I don't fucking believe in vampires, but I just saw a bunch of vampires. So now we're dealing with that. And he tells Jacob later in the movie that like, surely these things are from hell. And if there is a hell, there has to be a heaven. And that's kind of the crux of exorcism and vampire movies, right?
Yeah. Like once you open the door for the supernatural like that, you've kind of got to like let in all the things. So if you know, and you know, we'll get into the rules of vampires and the
Oh
specifics
yeah.
of that once we get to the titty
Yeah.
twister.
Yeah.
But I love that, the idea that it's like, no, like if you have a monster, then faith is your only kind of, you know, well, faith and a lot
Combatant.
of bullets.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a cameo in here that I really love that's very, very Tarantino, which is Kelly Preston as the TV reporter.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Okay.
Reporting the death toll of Seth and Richie Gecko and their bank robbery spree and the killing the ranger and the clerk and the whatever. And she's so bubbly. She's like,
Yeah.
Kelly
Yeah.
Preston is going all out, being bubbly on the scene TV reporter. And then as she says, let's look at that death toll. And then like the graphic comes up like it's
At the
NFL
bottom.
stats in a game.
It's like a hockey, like the hockey
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. Here's the shots. Here's the number of shots on goal. Here's how many saves he has this period. And you're like, okay.
See,
And
I
when
thought
it increases, it's like flashing. It's like
yeah,
3.
Yeah. So stupid.
You're like, God.
Whoa, that's Citizens Police. I thought you were going to say John Saxon of
Oh,
Nightmare
sure.
on Elm Street fame. As
Oh,
like sort of
the
the
yes.
FBI agent.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
FBI,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
Which
Like-
is so random because you never see him again.
Yeah.
No, you don't see these two ever again. They're just so
That
brief.
storyline is over. Yeah.
Yeah.
The 90s really did stunt casting like that so well. To understand like that's within certain genres of films, these actors have like fandom. People are like, oh my God, that's the dad from Nightmare on Elm Street.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
to use them effectively in these like little one-off, kind of scenes
Yeah.
to be like, no, it's a horror film. And if you're a fan of horror films, then you'll get that.
Yeah, totally.
Also, very 90s, that stunt casting.
Yep.
So 90s.
Okay, so Jacob and the kids he wants to stop at a motel because he's kind of tired of sleeping in the Winnebago or whatever van the mobile home we're in. And he stops at the same motel that Richie and Seth are at. Surprise, surprise. And Seth and Richie take them hostage. Jacob's like, listen, you can just have the motor van. Like, just take it. Take the Winnebago, have at. He's like, nope, sorry, can't do that because we have to cross the border and you have to help us. So it's not so easy just to steal the thing. So you're going to have to drive and you're going to have to sneak us across the border. So the rules are, this movie, by the way, is so good at rules. It's so good at saying, like,
Yeah.
Seth lays out the rules. Like, we have to go to Mexico. We are meeting a guy at dawn at a bar he told us about. And we're going to pay him 30% of all the money we've made. And he's going to let us stay in El Rey, which is a safe haven for criminals, basically.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is get us through to dawn. That's it. And if you're fucking chill about it, then you'll get to go home free.
Will they?
Well,
It's never that simple.
no.
Like even before the vampires start showing up, I was like, I don't think they're gonna let you live,
No.
guys.
Mm-mm.
So like when they're going through the border crossing and Scott, the son, is like, any police officer will tell you, like, if you have an opportunity, take it. This is the opportunity. And they don't because, we have to have a movie.
Yeah.
But
And she's in the bathroom and he
With a
doesn't want
gun
to risk
to her. Yeah.
with a gun
Yeah.
to her, and both of those dudes, not just like the one, both of them.
yeah.
But while in the bathroom, Richie and Seth get into another
Oh
brother's
my
tiff.
God.
Like, what does Richard start going off on? He's like,
Well, he has
it's like, oh, I don't like your tone.
He has a weird thing about being called a liar
Uh-huh.
and being not believed.
Yeah.
And it triggers him to be extra violent. And so I think he's trying to temper down the situation, Seth is, but then Richie is like going ham, and so then he knocks his ass out because
Yeah.
sometimes your brother is so annoying you have to knock his ass out.
Yeah.
I love that moment when Juliette Lewis says thanks to George Clooney.
Yeah.
That to me is like the first moment in which you think, okay, these characters might actually become like allies rather than
Right.
antagonists. And it's so simple. And Juliette Lewis is like so like she's like otherworldly.
She's really good in this.
sometimes.
She's so good.
Like
She's so good in this. Even in their like little conversation, like when Richie was like being a fucking disgusting perv and was like, yeah, what you said back in the room, like whatever. She's like looking at it. Though her eyes
yes
in that scene are brilliant. She's like, she's like, what did I say? And he was like, and then she's like looking around like, what the fuck? You can just like hear her internal dialogue. I just love it.
I love I really enjoy Richie's character in this movie, and as like clunky as Tarantino's performances are in movie when he shows up in these movies.
Yeah.
I think he's really good at I think it's decent casting as Richie, because he does feel he does feel like a loose cannon, like in a way that a child you know, is sort of a loose cannon. Like you just don't know when a child might have a tantrum, might start arguing with you, might not consider the big picture. And that's why his arguing about being called a liar while they're in the bathroom, you're like, you're about to get our asses thrown in prison for life.
Right.
Like
you know, if you wait 10
meltdown,
minutes,
if you're gonna have a meltdown, it's not in the span of like this 7 minutes.
No,
like literally we can do this after we cross this border, but this is like the hardest and most intense part of just stop.
Yes,
but it's very childlike.
And it's very similar to his Vincent Vega character from Pulp Fiction too, right? Vince Vega, you know, when the wolf comes to clean a thing up, he's like, well, how about a please would be nice. He's like, pretty please with sugar on top. Clean the fucking car. You know, it's but he's all about tone. He's all about like even in the most inappropriate moments, he will stop down and have an argument about your tone with me. That seems maybe I'm projecting, but it just feels like maybe that's a Tarantino thing that he knows about himself. But they make it to Mexico because when Cheech Marin as border control guard comes in to check in the bathroom, it's Juliette Lewis on the toilet being like, privacy please, asshole. And it's very convincing. So they're allowed in and they get to the titty twister,
which just from the looks of it looks like friggin' Mad Max Thunderdome style. Like there's fire shooting out of shit and like stuff on pikes. Like where did you get that from? Like just like hubcaps and people writhing around and like doing all sorts of weird stuff outside. It looks like that. I would drive directly by. Yeah, I would drive directly past.
If Burning Man were a bar.
Yeah, for like weird bikers.
Yes,
bikers and truckers. That's all that's allowed inside the titty twister. We will learn.
Local. This is a local bar for locals only.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
Oh, and people who love pussy.
Yep. I would like to see.
We got this kind of pussy.
Cherry pussy.
That's actually my favorite monologue to do for Shakespeare auditions.
Oh, it's
if you can find cheaper pussy, fuck it.
Can you imagine? I will be auditioning for Henry IV Part 2 using actually it's weirdly like the bawdiness of some of Shakespeare's plays, not too far off.
Sure.
Yeah.
Gauntlet accepted.
That's our next time we audition for Oregon Shakes. That's
it.
What we're gonna do.
Or doing warm-ups, microphone check.
Oh yes, we have to do that.
We'll get kicked out of venues.
Yeah.
They would never. They usually giggle at our exploits.
Our microphone shenanigans.
Although I think we've got white pussy, we've got black pussy is actually a Moliere line. So
yes.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna step on into the titty twister. It is dusk, and we've got to make it until dawn.
Yeah.
At this bar till Carlos shows up to take them off to El Rey. So outside the bar, you've got Cheech Marin playing this carnival pussy barker, talking about, you know, come on in, get whatever kind of pussy you want. And he stops Seth for a moment. He's like, hey, pal, you got to wait. And Seth kicks the shit out of him. And Richie takes an extra swift kick to his rib cage, too. All
Get
right.
him in trouble later.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
going to come back. So
Can't just-
inside, it is all naked. It is the titty twister. It is naked ladies dancing on tables.
Yep.
It is.
There's bar fights.
Yes.
Everybody's like gleefully fighting and rowdy, punching each other, wearing all black.
The band
Oh,
is
we've got
like
a rock band
playing
going.
moody. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, like real grindhouse shit here.
Yeah.
Tom Savini as Sex Machine.
Oh
This
my
is
name.
God.
great because some of these characters, you know, we sort of getting a sample of who's in the bar
Yeah.
because these are some of the survivors who do not get eaten by vampires later
Mhm.
in about 10 minutes here.
Uh-huh.
But Tom Savini with that fucking cock gun.
How does he trigger it? I've never been able to figure it out. I'm like, is it his wiener? Like, does he get like a half chub to like get it? He like
you got to make sure your lizard is drained
Mhm.
completely. Fully drain the lizard and then
oh my God.
cock gun.
I want to say this gun makes no mechanical sense to me.
Nope.
Because all right, so he's got the metal cod piece that opens
Yeah.
up and it reveals a barrel of a gun as dick and two
two chambers or whatever.
Yeah, two like circular chambers like from a revolver as nuts hanging down. But the thing about a revolver is that it rotates within the barrel of the gun or just behind the barrel. So
Yeah.
that when a hammer strikes it, the bullet goes down the barrel.
Not
But
next
these two
to.
things are not attached
Nope.
to the barrel of the gun.
It's so silly.
Maybe it is his penis.
Maybe so, because I'm imagining the kickback on a gun right next to your
Oh.
balls.
Right in the crotch?
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Oh. Nope.
Bam, like
Or-
right into your pelvic bone, just like
Maybe he's got like it's smooth. Like he doesn't have anything anymore.
Oh,
he has like
yeah, maybe
he has
so.
like a Ken doll,
Like a
sort
Ken
of.
doll style. Like
Yeah.
so let's say he's a castrati, okay?
Mhm.
And
With a
he's-
whip. Also, and he also has
With
a
a whip.
whip.
Yeah.
He has a cool whip. Whips are cool,
Whips are
You know,
cool.
especially when you can steal a beer. Come on.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah. Sex
But
machine's dope.
I don't know. Yeah, and maybe that's why they call him Sex Machine.
Because his sex is a machine. Yeah.
Is a machine.
Yes.
Yeah, I get it. I like that. That's that's one of the genders.
Yes.
Sex machine. Yeah, I love this.
Male, female.
Yeah,
sex
sex
machine.
machine. Danny Trejo tells them you're not welcome here because this is only for
Yeah.
bikers and truckers. And it's Jacob who steps in. He's like, well, you see that Winnebago? That's a class 2 driver license.
Oh.
So technically I am a truck driver, so we're all good. And these are my friends.
I don't know, like you gotta respect like him for standing up for making a point,
Uh-huh.
Yep.
de-escalating the violence, be like, look, like all we want to do is drink here. But he like sticks to his point against Danny Trejo, like against this bartender. Then he's like, no, we have a right to drink here, but we can do this without, I don't know, killing
Shooting up the place.
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is where Seth's irrational thing is coming through here because he's so angry. Seth always wants a fight. Like he says, I don't want to
Yeah.
kill people and I don't have to, but he wants to provoke people into making him kill them. He doesn't
Yeah.
want to Richie is just lying just because he wants to kill people or
Yeah.
whatever. But Seth wants it to come honestly, but he's going to needle and poke until he gets the opportunity to commit violence. So now we have the mistress of the macabre, the most sinister woman on earth, Satanico Pandemonium.
I'm sorry, that is also my title. Evilest woman in the world, Stephanie Sanders. Yes. First of all, the curtain pulls. The sound in that part is
Oh yeah,
amazing. That you just hear the curtain. There's no music underneath it.
silence.
Everybody is silent, and you hear the curtain being like wheeled open. She comes out. You hear the cape whoosh, whoosh, and you just hear hear and feel the weight of the fabric. And she is stunning. Like I was just looking at her, and I was like, God damn! And then looking at a picture, she's still very, very beautiful, and but she was otherworldly. in
This scene is
this.
iconic. It's
Yeah.
if I'm gonna like go down like
Oh, yeah.
top scenes of 90s films, like
Oh
this is
yeah.
right
Yeah,
up there.
this
It's
is
just
right up there.
amazing.
I love
Yeah.
the fact, I love it like when she has the cape, and it's very, like you said, it's like it's a burlesque striptease, but
Yeah.
we get our first instance of like true magic, because
Yes.
she has nothing and she sort of covers up, and then snake,
Yes.
Yes.
and
Big ass.
it comes off as like a magic trick, but
Right.
also a satanic magic trick.
Mhm.
Like it's not a trick, you know.
Right. Sexy
So
though.
sexy.
And she the way, okay, first of all, snakes, yes, they're very sexy. But then this sexy woman who is like, it's all eye contact and this beautiful body, and she's like, her eyes are like wells,
Yeah.
like, and she's got this almost like Aztec or Mayan
yeah.
sort of ancient beauty to her,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? And that's why I think they're sitting there like in awe, and the music starts, this bitch starts whining, she's whirling that body around, she's up beveling that toe, hips are going.
Oh yeah.
I know, we're all like, yeah.
I'm under your spell, Selma Hayek.
And she makes her way to, and dancing with a snake, I can't imagine that would be easy, because you don't want to, like, I'm thinking from an actor point of view,
Sure.
that's got to be wild. It's like it went through her hair, and the way she just like responded to it, and she was like, it's like very sexy.
Mhm.
And
So
apparently
you're
Selma
drawn into
Hayek,
this.
and apparently Selma Hayek was like intensely afraid of snakes,
Oh
Uh,
shit.
which
and
makes
and
this so
like
much better.
and like went to therapy to like work over her aversion to snakes in order to do this role.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
That's
because she was
amazing.
like, well, fuck, I got to figure this shit out if I'm gonna dance with this snake. And all they said was just like, there's no choreography, just get up there and be sexy, just be Selma Hayek, which I love that.
Me
Same.
too.
Like, I think that's the thing about like Robert Rodriguez really knows. He's like, work with good people, let them do their job,
Mhm.
let them be the best thing that they can be, and just be like, yes,
Yeah.
iconic.
So at the end of her dance, after she's run tequila down her shin to Tarantino's mouth via her big toe, the end of her act, the doorman, Cheech Marin, comes back in and he points to Seth and Richie. Richie, by the way, has already been shot through the hand from the
Oh,
earlier
that's right.
liquor store robbery.
Yeah.
With like a hole in his
And
hand.
he's got a hole in his hand. It's duct taped closed. Well, the Danny Trejo comes in and just like runs a knife like right through that same hand to pin him to the table. And now we get into a gunfight. Seth stands up.
Yep.
We've got the big dude gets shot. Danny Trejo gets shot. Cheech Marin is like everybody's getting shot. And the Richie's hand is gushing blood, and you just see Selma Hayek's face
Yes.
staring
In the
longingly
back.
at it. Yeah, like
You can see her like starting her breath, even
Yeah.
like you can see her like it, and that is something that you see often in a lot of vampire movies. Like they can be the most measured, calm, like people, like, but then sometimes the blood, like they see blood, it makes them uncontrollable.
It's the
Yeah.
quickening.
yeah.
You're like, oh, the blood, and they could probably smell it,
Yeah.
because their
Oh, yeah.
senses are much more heightened. So like just like that whole thing, and it's like there's only so long that you can avoid the bloodlust.
Yeah. So stage one of we're getting into vampire times now. So Satanico Pandemonium turns into Snake Woman and
Yeah.
jumps on Richie, bites his neck. He's done. All of the dead men that they just shot are now turning into vampires, and all of the strippers and the band are all vampires as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Now,
We went
here's
from
the
0
thing.
to 60 in 5 seconds here.
Do you think this happens like, how often do you think that they vamp out at this bar?
Every time.
You think every night?
Yes, I think every night. I don't think it's any special, and I think that's why they were also like only bikers, only truckers, because
Oh,
like
yeah.
they can get away with
Sort of a
like
transient life. So they're like,
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
absolutely
I
Yeah.
never saw that person before in my life.
Yeah.
right, and
Chomp, chomp,
they
chomp,
can
chomp,
be like
chomp.
exactly, and so they have a steady supply of randoms coming in there,
Hmm.
and then they're able to take all of their stuff, which we find
Yeah.
out later.
Well, in the final, like the the famous final shot of this movie where you see it's like an ancient Aztec temple carved into the side
Right.
of this ravine
Yeah.
where the titty twister is the top level. The other thing that I noted this time, because when you first see it, you're like, oh, ancient Aztec temple, whatever. But
Yeah.
the thing you note this time is the ravine is filled with
Trucks.
trucks.
Yeah.
It's filled with
Yeah.
it's filled with shipping containers and trucks
So they
and
like
bikes.
feed and they
Yeah.
just literally drive the truck off a cliff
Yep.
and go,
Yep.
done.
Yeah. It's like chicken bones. You just toss your chicken bone out. Yeah. So now we're having our first showdown where one of the strippers is like, dinner is served. Like it is. Have
Oh
at
my God.
Yeah.
Also, that moment, it's so 90s. Like it's, you don't really get catchphrases in movies these days.
No.
You know, nobody just like turns to the camera and says something real funny and witty that has no bearing on reality in movies anymore.
This
Yeah.
feels like that's that moment, the stripper going, dinner is served. I think we have to make sure we have clips for the trailer.
Yes, absolutely.
Because this is also the height of people loving movie trailers. This
Yeah.
is kind of
Yeah.
before you would have 15 just Coca-Cola and Progressive Insurance ads before a movie.
Oh,
And
fucking
you would have
Newsy.
you would have like 4 2-minute movie trailers, and then you would
Yeah.
start your film, and you'd be like, oh, I cannot wait for this other blockbuster.
Yep.
Dinner is served. That looks fresh. I cannot wait to see it.
Uh
For
I do like
me,
that I do like all this that all the dancers were vampires. Like everybody who worked there was a vampire, and they were all like kind of equal like yeah, let's get them.
Yeah.
for me, the cherry on this sundae is the fucking guitarist who just immediately has a guitar made
A
of a
dead
human
body.
body.
When did he string that?
I
When?
don't know.
When
And
did
what
he
kind
string
of
that person?
and what kind of sound is that going to make?
Right. There's like, did you already take the guts out so that there's some sort of hollow,
Uh-huh.
like what strum against? It's like, no. Also, the way that I kept looking at it, and I was like, okay, so there's only one leg, and that's the neck of the guitar, or
Yeah.
what is that?
And then there's like a head up a butt.
And it's
Like,
like,
what?
that like as they're strumming the guitar, the head is like,
No
the amount
wrong
of heads,
answers.
the amount of
You're just so
decapitated
right.
heads
Yeah.
in this, it's like heads are flying.
Mm-hmm.
So many heads and so many arms.
Except I don't feel like in other vampire movies and lore that really they're not like ripping these bodies apart.
Yeah.
Except for
It's
there's a
very
couple of,
wasteful.
it is very wasteful. It's like usually just like the old bite and suck, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
in I think one in like the Vampire Diaries, one of the brothers in that one of the vampire brothers, he's called a Ripper, which
Oh.
he like fucks up and like destroys the body. And so I feel like it's an abnormal thing when that happens, because anytime I've heard it talked about, like where bodies are ripped apart and like pulled apart or whatever, um it's usually like, oh, there's some defect in that vampire.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's really funny. I was thinking about, this movie is the least vampire movie in that it's really more of a zombie movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really kind of Night of the
In a
Living
way,
Dead or Day of
very
the Dead.
much.
Like as opposed to a mall with zombies. We're sort of stuck in this titty twister bar.
Yeah.
And the sort of the idea of you get bit and then you have like a transition period, which I
Like
think
less
was
than an
kind of-
hour.
Yeah, less than an
Yeah.
hour. And I love that, like, there's a secret, like, vampire voice that's like, come to the dark side, kill them all. You're like, huh? What? That's what all those vampires hear all the
Yeah,
time.
because usually also like in a lot of vampire movies and more, you don't see like when someone's being turned,
Yeah.
they have to also drink the blood of their maker,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And they usually get buried or they go through this whole thing, they die, they are like usually like sleep for a little bit or are buried, and then they come out and then they have to feed to fully transition.
Yeah.
But in this, it was just like you get bit and then you're like hear the whisper voices and then you're like
Yeah.
and some people turn really fast, like the guy who was talking about Nam.
Fred Williamson,
Fred
who plays
Williamson.
Frost.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. When he's telling that story
Oh my
and
God.
like Sex Machine is like hearing the voices and then he feels his like tooth. That is also a fucking hilarious part. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
I know. Like with the fingers, he's got the like
Yeah.
long vampire fingers.
he's trying to, he's like, oh,
Fun.
he's like,
It's
yeah,
fun.
It's fun.
it is
Yeah.
really fun.
Tom
in a way
Savini
that, like,
playing that is so
oh
good.
my
Such
God.
good cartoonish humor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, so now we've got kind of our core group. We've got Jacob and the kids, we've got Seth, and we've also got Sex Machine and Frost, right? Frost
right.
is Frost is the veteran of Nam. I was in Nam.
I was in Nam.
Oh my God. Like when he picks up those 4 vampire strippers
And fucking body slams them.
and body slams them each on the end of
table
a
leg?
table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that part. He's like, ah.
Because
That's-
they realize they're like, okay, so we can't just kill them.
Yeah.
You know, like, and they actually, I really appreciate this. They kind of go through the whole thing where they
Talk
take a
through it.
vampire. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, and they like, I think he like literally punches into some vampire's heart, pulls out his heart. And then Tom Savini grabs a pencil and just pokes the heart with a pencil to be like, okay, again, rules. Stake
Yes.
through a heart.
Heart.
Is the only thing that kills them.
Yeah. Oh, I love this whole speech where Seth is like, or this conversation. He's like, all right, what do we know about these vampires?
Yes.
Yep.
Just an important distinction, right? Like it's the script writers, Tarantino being like, and Robert Rodriguez being like, let's lay out the rules for our villains now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they don't like crosses. Well, we don't have many crosses at the Titty Twister, and Scott, the son, is like, well, you can just make a cross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's Tom Savini's like, oh yeah, Peter Cushing did that.
I know, like all those like Hammer horror films where they're like, it's a cross.
It's such a Tarantino conversation too, because there's a moment where like Sex Machine is like, they're naming off wood stakes, garlic, sunlight, crosses, and Tom Savini's like, there's something to do with silver, right? And they're like, no, I think that's werewolves. He's like, no, but like silver with there's something silver with vampires, right? Like there's a thing.
And then Juliette Lewis is like, do we have any silver?
Yeah, I know, right? Come on, boys.
Let's be realistic,
yeah.
right? Is there a lot of silver laying around here? Then let's move on.
Yeah. And it's Seth who finally turns to Jacob, being like, listen, the most valuable weapon you have against the vampire is the servant of God.
Yeah.
And he has to like give the Vince Lombardi sort of halftime pep talk to him to be like, are you a faithless creature or are you a mean motherfucking servant of God? I'm a mean servant of God.
I love it. Although it reminds me, it reminds me a lot of Salem's Lot. Like the bring me a priest to fight the vampire. And the priest is almost inevitably ill-equipped.
Drunken, faithless.
Or they're like, their faith is tested and unsuccessful. But it's kind of great that in this one, like you said, your hero of against vampires is this sort of like quintessential American creature who won't cuss.
Yes.
But will kick some fucking vampire ass.
Yeah. there's a when Sex Machine, he gets bit during one of these fights and tries to hide it, and
Mm.
of course it's during Frost telling his story about surviving Nam and by playing dead and then rising up and doing a full Rambo style mowing all of
Oh my
the
God.
Viet Cong down, whatever.
And like acting out, killing
Yeah,
everybody.
it's so good. But he gets bit from behind by Sex Machine and they have a showdown. Sex Machine's like, "What are you going to do about it?" And he says this, and he picks him up and he throws him through the front door, which crashes down the front door, and then all the bats fly in. That's a big oh fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we've got the vampires on the loose, and so we've got everybody running to the very back room, the storage room. And Seth and the two kids have run to the back room. They're like, "We got to go save Daddy." He's like, "He's dead, man."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Daddy got bit. Jacob got bit on the arm, but he's still Jacob. And he builds the best cross in any vampire movie, which is a pump action shotgun with a
Uh-huh.
baseball bat run through the pump. So that he can
Brilliant.
hold it up like a cross,
Right.
cock it, and blow vampires the fuck away.
Amazing.
Obsessed.
So that's how he gets to the back room. So good. All right. Let's talk about weapons montage.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. That is always my favorite part of a lot of movies like this because you're like, oh God, they're going to be so like MacGyver about it. I'm here. They're like going through the boxes, cracking open all the things. You're like,
Mhm.
okay, oh, she found a friggin' crossbow. Has she ever used one before?
Nope.
Probably not, but she'll figure it out. I mean, things like that. I'm like, your aim still has to be good to get
Yes.
through a heart.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was just thinking, why are the vampires keeping all these sunglasses and little tchotchkes?
It's
What are they
all
doing
of
with those?
it's all of the stuff that they stolen from the truckers. They've just
Yeah.
thrown the crates. But yeah, why did they keep any of that? Like why didn't they keep I don't know, the steaks or whatever, like the slabs of beef. Well, I guess they can't have human food, right? They can only eat human. But yeah, it seems like they would only want to keep maybe the liquor, stuff to
Yeah.
stock the bar
Right.
with.
And just throw everything else in the pit.
Yeah. But Seth builds a jackhammer that he carves a
Oh my
stake
God.
into the bottom of it. Scott finds water balloons and super soakers so that he can have the water made holy by his father.
Yeah.
Were they water balloons or were they condoms?
I think they
I
were
think they're
condoms.
condoms. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Which they shouldn't bust like that. If you're just throwing them,
I guess if
maybe
you
they're like
Should be a little stronger.
bottom barrel.
if you filled them with that much liquid, the water's pretty heavy.
Yeah, I guess
If
so.
you throw it hard enough, it's gonna bust open, right?
I'm just imagining because they must have been unlubricated as well because I'm just imagining filling a condom
Uh-huh.
with water that has a lubricated condom, which many are these days,
Yeah.
that it would be like those
It's like
things.
a
It would
wiggle
just like keep
worm.
sliding. Yeah, a
Yeah.
wiggle worm. It just like slides through your hands.
You're
Ugh.
like, whoa, whoa,
I'm trying to
whoa.
imagine tying it off on a
It'd be hard.
lubricated condom, and also with when you think about like a water balloon, that really narrow opening, you can like tighten it around the sink, like the
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
faucet. Whereas the condom, I'm like, that's a wide opening, man.
Yeah.
Wide. Yeah.
But we've got our weapons now, and Jacob still has his shotgun and baseball bat. Some great lines he has to tell his kids, like, listen, I'm already dead. Like within the hour, I'm gonna turn. So promise me when I do,
Yeah.
kids, you'll kill me, because I'm gonna turn into a lapdog of Satan, which is a great phrase.
Now, what do you think of their plan to kill all the vampires? Do you think that they could have survived if they had just stayed in their little room as long as they could and barricaded, as opposed to be like, as Harvey Keitel said, like kind of, like go out and make a last stand and just kill them all?
just like wait till daytime or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I don't know if that would have worked, because the vampires were still like up and moving about. They didn't like fall asleep when it was daytime. They were still like
Oh,
when they
yeah, yeah.
finally got out into the middle and like there were holes of light coming
Mhm.
through. They were still very active and like trying to eat them. So like maybe because they were inside, they wouldn't have been so uh they still would have been trying to get
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
No,
So
that's
maybe the
yeah.
best idea was to break free.
That's a good point, because there seems to be different levels of vampire happening, right? Because the ones they're fighting at the end are all kind of like
Animalistic.
the animalistic. Yeah, they're very NPC style. But like earlier when you had Cheech Marin and Danny Trejo playing these vampires that work at the bar, like yeah, they're just up and active while the sun's still out. Yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Because Cheech Marin was fully outside.
Yeah,
Oh,
in
yeah.
the sunlight, being like pussy, pussy, pussy. Yeah.
Well, he was
Right.
coming out at dusk. It was at dusk.
Dusk.
It was dusk. But like yeah,
And also,
maybe
he turns into a giant rat later. So, like, the vampire rules are wet and wild.
yeah, wacky and wild. Yeah, that was the other thing. I was like, why are you turning into? But I guess I have seen or heard of vampires turning into all sorts of creatures, not
Yeah.
just bats.
Uh-huh.
But bats is the most prevalent
Yeah.
type thing. So maybe they were like also some sort of like bat like, because instead of
Bat,
because
snake,
maybe Selma Hayek
rat.
wasn't maybe she was a snake, but maybe she was like some sort of bat conglomerate, because the
Yeah.
head, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because her head kind of looked like it had the ears kind of on the side, but it weren't like
yeah.
batty fully. But I don't know.
Bat
Yeah.
snakes.
I don't know what was going on there,
Snake.
and who approved that with FX. You know, they're like,
You-
yeah, that's good enough.
Yeah, it's a bat snake.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you could technically survive till morning in that corridor if you thought they were if you thought they couldn't live in the
Like-
daytime inside that bar.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because
Um,
you'd still have to get through that last little corridor. And I guess they were assuming that the vampires were going to bust down the door at any moment.
But it's such a
Right.
narrow door, it feels like you could just be hosing them down with that super soaker
Yeah.
holy water.
You got that super soaker, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that
and
shit
the
goes a
other thing
long way.
that was kind of inconsistent was how they died.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
because some of them exploded, some of them from the same sort of things. Some of them melted down, some of them were on fire a little bit. Like, so you're just like, well, if I shoot them in this little hallway, am I going to be blown back into this little room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
You know?
Yeah, you're right. There were multiple ways in which these things died, because some of them just absolutely burst into flames.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which they even call out. They're like, I thought vampires were supposed to burst into fire, and they all go whoosh.
Whoop.
Oof,
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's so silly. It's so silly, and I love it.
So now we're like, all right, let's kill them all. Let's get our asses out there. We're gonna have this huge showdown. And this is where Sex Machine Vampire comes back. Seth rips his head off with the whip. Oh, that was established during rules.
Yeah.
One thing about our vampires, they have their super strength, superpowers, and their strength and ability to leap and whatever, but very soft skin. Like you can rip their
Yes.
head off quite easily. And he does with the whip. And that's where Sex Machine grows a rat head. Becomes a fucking
Why?
rat.
Sure.
Because it's fun. It's really
Yeah.
the rationale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it really does become a lesson in, okay, if we're gonna make a vampire movie, we're gonna make the ultimate vampire movie. And we're gonna have, like, the beginning of that movie is going to be very simple. And it's going to be, like, kind of locations are very simple and quiet. And then in the second half of the movie, we're going to show off literally everything we can do. Can you make a rat? Can you make a giant rat? Yeah, great. Put it in there. Sex machine. Can you make a dick gun? Great. Put it in there.
Uh-huh.
Strippers, vampire strippers. All of them.
Done.
I want to see them all.
Check.
Yeah.
Can you give Harvey Keitel like half a melted face? Totally.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. So much gloppy, like half of the face is
Yeah.
blown off.
Yeah.
But he still bit his son.
I know.
Yeah. The I love also that there's like an emerald green blood that they have, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
I think it's like it doesn't make any sense, but it's kind of cool
Nope.
looking is all.
Apparently they did that to get around the censors. Because like if the vampires had like blood, they
Oh.
thought it would be too like it was just too violent.
That's like the black and white scene in Kill Bill Volume 1, right? That
Yeah.
they changed it to black and white because that much red was
It's
going to
just
make it
it's just
NC-17.
like too much.
Yeah. Well,
Huh.
Jacob is fully turned, and unfortunately, Scott was not non-committal to finishing off his dad, and he's unable to do it, and he bites Scott, who then finally shoots his dad away, but all of the other vampires start devouring young Scott. And he has to turn to Kate and be like, "Kill me, Kate." She's like, "All right." Later.
That's my favorite musical.
Kill me,
Kill
Kate.
me, Kate. Amazing.
But yeah, actually that scene, you see that all the time in zombie movies.
Yeah.
Like someone falls into the thing, but they've got a bunch of like grenades or something. They're like, kill me. And they're like, and they're red, and they close their eyes, and then like they're being devoured, or it explodes a bunch of stuff, and it gives the other people enough chance to escape or survive.
Mm-hmm.
It's also the thing of like when you know you're gonna turn, it's the timing of it, because we also had Richard Gecko turn into a vampire, and Seth got all weird about it. He's like, no, if anybody's gonna, like, you get your hands off my vampire brother, because if anybody's gonna kill him, it's gonna be me. So this idea of like, who, even though it's clearly a vampire and like totally evil, that whole thing of like, okay, it must be, like our main characters have to have a really important death. Like the right people have to kill them at the right time.
Yeah.
They're not just gonna fall by the wayside.
I will promise you right now, if either of you ever turn into a zombie or a vampire, I'll for sure kill you.
Oh, thank you, Symphony.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I think
I
Cecil
expect the same in return.
Yes, I 100% will kill you too.
Well, unless it's good to be a vampire, like if I'm like really sexy.
Yeah, like if you're the hunger vampire, I'm gonna let you be you.
Right.
Just like listening to Bauhaus and doing cocaine and just running around, being all cool,
chilling,
and shit.
like going to parties, like wearing cool sunglasses.
Sure, yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
We're like, do you feel okay? I mean, do you feel murdery? Do you feel like you're gonna eat me? That no,
I can get other blood.
Yeah,
I feel like if you're a rational vampire, like be like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go work at a blood bank.
Yeah,
and then just get your food there.
Yeah,
that's reasonable. If you're a reasonable vampire, you like live your life. You don't like have to kill a bunch of people. It's not too flashy, like whatever. You can be a sexy vampire, even like Interview with the Vampire style vampires. Down with it.
Yeah,
but not that kind, not a snake, devil dog.
Yes.
Rat bastard.
Yeah, like these vampires would be very difficult to integrate into society in
a
normal fucking way. Like I can't imagine Selma Hayek going to the bank
to
like deposit a check for the mortgage
with that snake.
for the I know, with her fucking snake.
I would like to put this snake into my IRA account.
Yes. These vampires, it's a wonder that the Titty Twister has lasted as long as it has. It's a cash only operation.
So now we're down to just Seth and Kate, and they're surrounded. Kate's got a couple bullets left. She's like, Seth, do I save these last bullets for us? And he's like, no, shoot any motherfucker that comes for you.
Yeah.
But then they realize
pistol whip the rest of them.
But like the missed shots have shot holes in the walls and the doors, and there are beams of sunlight coming in. It is dawn. We've made it from dusk till dawn.
We have made it.
And
We did it, movie.
And he's like, shoot more holes. And then now they've got beams of light that are helping keep the vampires at bay. And then Carlos arrives.
Knock, knock, knock on the door.
Hey, what's going on in there? It's so
Again,
Bang,
it's
bang,
Cheech
bang
Marin.
Yep.
on the door, baby. I know. Cheech Marin in role number 3.
Oh my God. He's like, Carlos, open the fucking door. And they kick the door in. And the sunlight hits the disco ball.
Oh my God. I love
So
it.
good. And everything fucking explodes.
Yeah. Brilliant.
All right, this final wind down, Seth gets out there, punches Carlos. And it's like, of all the fucking godforsaken bars in Mexico, why here? And he's like, I don't know. One place is as good as another. Never been here. It just looked cool.
I drove past it a few times. It seemed all right. Well, and I love this. And again, it's back to now we're back in kind of movie number 1, the Tarantino
Yep.
quick-witted, because Seth even tries to like, do the thing that his brother said, which is like,
Negotiate.
Lowest price.
Negotiate a lower price. He's like, my brother is dead. 20%.
Yeah, I love this negotiation. It's so good.
And they agree at the end, they're both like 25. It's like,
yeah.
that's so you got 5% knocked off for your fucking brother. Like, that's not even tax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mama. 5%.
Oh,
Whatever.
funny.
And he got a car. But he got a
He
car.
did get a car. Yeah.
He got a car. I love the argument over the car. He's like, you promised me a new car. This is a 1990. This is a 96 movie. He's like, well, it was a drug dealer. He drove it like maybe 10 times a year.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine.
Practically new.
And it's a Porsche.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you're fine. It probably doesn't have Apple CarPlay, but I bet it's
No.
great. Yeah.
They didn't even know what Apple CarPlay was back then.
No, they didn't.
Stupid 90s. I also love Cheech Marin as Carlos's line here when he's trying to just be friendly and whatever. He's like, "Hey, I got some beers. You want a cold beer? I've got Mexican and domestic."
I know, right?
I was like, "You are in Mexico," and it reminded me
That is
when,
the Mexico.
It reminded me of when we're in London and they have and you get to Heathrow and they have the passport check area.
Yeah.
And keeping in mind, you're in the UK, you're an American, and you see the line for UK and EU passports. And then you see another line that says, foreign passports. And then next to foreign passports, it has the American flag, which always tells me Americans don't know they're foreigners when they're in another country.
They got to be reminded.
And so when
They
he's like,
don't.
I got
You're
Mexican
not
and domestic.
in your home anymore.
He's like, I got Mexican and domestic. I was like, oh dear.
Such a good line.
It's so good. And Kate, who now has lost her whole fucking family.
Right?
Yeah.
This is very tragic. And she also has, I think, had a lot of fun. It's a real coming of age story for her tonight. And it's a little like, hey, Seth, can I go with you to El Rey? I mean, I can learn this life. This seems fun. He's like, go home, Kate. I may be a bastard, but I'm not a fucking bastard.
That's it.
Yeah.
How is this girl gonna get back across the border? Did they bring passports?
I know. What happened to her passport? Well, they're probably in the RV.
Probably still in the RV. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, either way, I feel bad for that girl because like she's lost everything. And what the fuck is she supposed to do now?
Yeah.
She's got her own Winnebago.
Yeah, but where's she gonna get money from?
Oh, well, Seth actually like peels off.
Oh, he gave her
like,
money.
Yeah, he gives her money. He gives her
Oh,
like,
right,
a
I
couple
forgot about
stacks
that.
of bills.
Yeah.
Which again, it goes back to this thing of like, Richard Gecko is like terrible because he is so unpredictable and like
Right.
and rapey, and weird.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing of like Seth is that, there's a level of understanding of partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's lawful evil, chaotic evil, the two brothers.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just kind of see her just kind of staring at the Winnebago like I guess I can invest in therapy now is the thing I can invest in.
Can you imagine trying to explain this to a therapist?
Or the
I know.
police when you get back to what happened to your family
Right?
in Mexico. Well,
Right. I mean, the amount of people that wouldn't believe you, you'd have to just say, oh, well, Richard and Seth Yucko killed my family and I escaped.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like
I think
she's the
so.
only survivor of
I
their
think so.
rampage.
I think that's
Yeah.
totally what you do. Yeah, that doesn't actually now that you say that, I'm like, I don't think that's that hard. I think the tough part for her is just recovering from trauma.
I know,
She-
right?
From
yeah.
watching her whole family be murdered by vampires. Yeah.
Yeah.
After losing her mom
Yeah.
I know, right?
in a car accident.
Jesus.
You know, she seems pretty well adjusted, I think.
So then we get the final reveal that this whole thing was built, or it is the top level of an Aztec temple on the side of the mountain. Were Aztecs vampires? I don't know how Aztec
Maybe.
work.
I love it.
Maybe
I
these
love
ones
the,
were.
Yeah.
I just love the idea that they've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Agreed.
Shall we rate this film?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, how approachable is this if you're a horror film averse on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not at all approachable, 10 being super approachable? This one's tough because I remember seeing this in college when I did not watch horror movies, and I feel like this movie is on the line with like Kill Bill. Like it's super violent, but I don't think
Yeah.
any part of this movie is scary. It's
Yeah.
Tarantino violent. It's fucking what's the Nazi movie he made? The Inglourious
Inglourious
Basterds.
Basterds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's tough, but I don't know if we're gonna give Gore a lot of weight here for the horror averse. I'll still say like 4 holy water condoms out of 10. Because it is really fucking gloopy, gloppy, gory,
Of all
splattery.
different measures.
Yeah,
Yeah.
constantly. But I feel like if you're like one of those people who doesn't like a certain type of horror, but like Dawn of the Dead or World War Z or whatever shit like this is like, you can handle that. And then you can handle this just fine. It's super Rodriguez. It's very Robert Rodriguez. So let's say 4 out of 10 for approachability. Cecil, what do you think as a horror film?
As a horror film, this is like best of the best up here.
Yeah.
You know, like watching, because it has been a minute since I've watched this film, and it took me right back to 1996 from the tribal tattoos to the the catchphrases. It really reminds me, and it's this idea that it's a bunch of people that are the best at what they do in the horror field, like heads rolling, like these are the people that are the best monster makeup, the best like special effects artists, and they love it. And then they went, okay, let's just see how far we can push the envelope. And I love that. So for that, and then also Selma Hayek, like literally iconic.
Absolutely.
Like, so yeah, for that, I would say 8 out of 10 foot fetishes for this movie.
What about you, Symphony? Would you like to give this movie a rating of sorts, like as a vampire movie?
Sure. As a vampire movie, I would say that because we don't even get to the vampires until like probably 3 halfway through the movie.
It is halfway.
yeah.
It's almost right at the halfway mark. Yeah.
Yeah, halfway through, and then for a lot of but it's such a fucking delight. It kind of doesn't matter like how well they like adhered to a lot of the tropes, even though I do appreciate that they went over some of the rules that they understood for these vampires. I am gonna give this movie out of 10 body guitars made out of bodies.
Yes.
I'm gonna give this a 8 out of 10 because I truly love this movie. I could watch it over and over again, and it's just fucking silly.
I hope Danny Schmidt tours with a guitar like this one when we go on the road with him. I think
and I hope the way he leaves the stage is he just like middle finger and then explodes for no reason at all.
Much. When their sex machine's all like, now it's time to kill this motherfucking bat, and they're like, Good night, everyone. Fuck you. Boom.
And they just explode themselves. Oh my god, it's too much.
Do that. Oh, it's brilliant.
Classic Danny Schmidt. All right, let's figure out what movie we will watch next. Cecil, you have a scare die. I have a style die. We'll roll those up, see what movie matches those two things. So if you roll a 1, Cecil, our next movie scares a ghost. 2, a straight up monster. 3, mind games or killer games. 4, a zombie. 5, animals. And 6, wild card, whatever scare we want. What is our scare?
That's a 2.
We're going to do a monster finally. All right. Let's watch a monster movie. What do you say? And we're going to match up your monster roll with the style that I roll, which is if it's a 1, Asian horror film. 2, pre-1950s. 3, something that is a sequel, prequel, or remake. 4, something urban, something that takes place in a big city. 5, bloodless / psychological horror. Or 6, a prestige horror. What do we got here? I got a 6, prestige horror. Monster
prestige
movie.
monster.
Prestige monster.
Oh my gosh, we only accept respectable monsters around here.
There's a million to choose from, right? Like there's so many here, and we threw a couple on this list, but we can check with our Letterboxd too and see what users on Letterboxd think. And also we can check with our resident vampire expert and horror movie expert, Symphony Sanders, who is on the show right now.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is so funny. Like, oh, okay, the Letterboxd is wild. There's like 25 recommendations.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go through some of these.
Let's start with the ones I just like immediately came to mind. Like Under the Skin, right? Classic art house.
Yeah.
Kind of
Scarlett
alien
Johansson.
monster. Scarlett Johansson is a slow horror. It is a interesting art house horror. There is The Babadook, which is super prestige horror. And of course, like classic monster prestige horror, Cloverfield.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Any number of Godzilla movies also work. I think you could say Peter Jackson's King Kong. We've already covered the 1930s King Kong, but Peter Jackson's King Kong is huge. I really want to see Godzilla -1, which as of right now is out in the theaters, but I think it is not available for streaming, so it might be a little bit clunky to try and get to that movie for this. But Godzilla -1 is big prestige monster movie.
Oh yeah.
Which is a new.
We've had when we did Beau is Afraid. We've done movies in the movie theater.
That's true.
Before.
Yeah. So we could consider Godzilla -1. I've heard nothing but good things about this movie. So those are the ones that we threw out on our list. But let's do a sampling, Cecil. You want to pick a few from Letterboxd? We're not going to be able to say all of these.
We've definitely got a couple of people. The Witch, the Vivitch.
Yeah.
Very prestige. Sort of a monster devil goat. Let's see what else we got here. Nope. Although Nope definitely's got a monster in it. Definitely prestige.
Yeah.
The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which came out just this past year. It's sort of a Dracula on the boat on the way over, more sort of vampires as monsters kind of thing. The Mist from 2007.
That's
Stephen
a good
King.
one.
And that one's definitely, it's like prestige cast. You know, you've got like sort of like Oscar nominees in that cast, and then also fighting some big bugs in the Mist. So I quite like that one as well.
Yeah, we've got we did It Follows also, was another one. And also just any number of the, somebody throws out, JB Wolf threw out Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, but I think any of the original, like the original Frankenstein is super prestige horror as well.
Le Croque-Mitaine puts out Flesh for Frankenstein, which is Andy Warhol's Frankenstein.
Whoa.
Wow.
because he made like a Dracula and a Frankenstein movie. And so in this one, Baron Frankenstein creates two zombies and tries to get them to mate in an Andy
Okay.
Warhol film. So I don't know.
Amazing.
That
I'm
sounds
into
fucking
that as
crazy.
well.
There was also somebody also threw out Lure, which is the mermaids
Yep.
movie, which we'd talked about as a possibility for aquatic / Lovecraftian from a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And also The Shape of Water from Wind Dancing. User Wind Dancing throws out The
Oh,
Shape of
yeah, that's
Water,
a good
which
one.
is
Very
very prestige
prestige,
because it
very
won Best
monster.
Picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so
Oh,
what
man.
is there's so many more. I'm sorry we didn't get to all of these, but there's so many good ones on this list. What's standing out to you, Cecil?
Okay. You know what? I gotta say, Cloverfield.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also into The Mist.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say Nope is a really good option for prestige and
Yeah.
monster because it is
Mm-hmm.
very much about a monster. And then Flesh for Frankenstein, the Andy Warhol one.
Okay. Yeah. Um, I'm very interested in Cloverfield, Mist, and Nope. Nope is the only one of those I have seen. I'm interested in Godzilla -1 if we wanted
Yeah.
to hit
Oh
an
yeah.
actual theater because I've heard good things. I haven't really looked into it though. Um, we would have to make sure that that's available where we're both at. Yeah, those sound really interesting. I also still am waiting to see The Witch. I haven't watched that yet, but I don't think The Witch is quite monstery
Yeah.
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah. It's also not like there's not prestige. Like when you say talking about like the lore
Mm-hmm.
and you know, like I want to see like Oscar winners,
Oh yeah. Oh, you
you know,
wouldn't
or
consider like the Robert Eggers, like his stuff feels very like polished prestige art housey sort of thing.
sure.
But not it's not Shape of Water. It's not.
Yeah.
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 Symphony, love to trust
Yes.
you. And as a guest too, I would love your thoughts on this.
While I love the Babadook and Nope, I think Cloverfield is like fits like this genre that you guys are talking about
Huh.
really, really well. And since you haven't seen it, I think that could be really exciting. I don't have any, you guys said any of the ones that I probably would have thought of off the top of my head. Yeah, I think anything that will be like new for either one of you would be very cool.
Yeah.
Because Cecil, have you seen Cloverfield?
I have. Yes.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah.
Back in the day when
Back
it
in the
came out.
days. But it's been a minute.
Yeah, that's
Well,
what I would say to that.
all
And
right.
it's a monster movie. It is a like classic
Yeah.
monster movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that sounds the way to go because it's the it's one of the first movies that came to mind when you just think of about
Yeah.
a prestige monster film. This is J.J. Abrams direct this movie or
I think he
just
produced it.
it.
It's
Okay.
got his fingers all
It
over
looks very J.J. Abrams.
it. Yeah, for real.
Well, let's do it. Let's hold on. Just pause for a second because we ran into this the other day. I just want to make sure it is definitely available.
Oh, that's right.
It
No,
is
it
available.
is. It is.
Yes. Okay. So all right, well, let's do Cloverfield. I'm excited to finally watch this
Woo.
thing. Well, thank you all for listening. Thank you, Cecil, for talking with me. And thank you, Symphony Sanders, for coming back on to help us through a vampire movie. Symphony, where can people find you and your work in this world?
Well, you can, of course, find me anywhere on the internet, pretty much TikTok, Instagram, X, I guess, those things at Symphony Sanders, or you can listen to one of my favorite podcasts talking about other podcasts, Good Morning Night Vale, wherever you find podcasts. And where else? Just, out here lurking,
Out here in the
creeping.
world, being
Boom.
on the road, performing at a town near you.
That's right. Oh yeah. Maybe.
Maybe.
You
I
don't
think we're
know.
on.
You don't know.
I might be in your bedroom right now. I might be in your house. I don't know.
Gotcha, bitch.
Maybe I'm nearby.
If y'all have thoughts on From Dusk Till Dawn or ideas for other movies that would have been good, monster movie, prestige horror, let us know on Instagram at randomhorror9 or over on Patreon, where we have public discussion threads for each episode, and you do not need to be a paying member to participate in those. So watch Cloverfield with us this week and come on back next Tuesday for a new episode. Have a restful night with no little brother fucking up your escape to Mexico or nothing. Boo!